we can access this unlimited state through these sessions. Because awareness is not just a byproduct of incarnating here. And that's what we learn in that very first meditation. It's like, oh, what's essential to me is this infinity, this premium seat where anything in my life can just happen. And I can remain in this place that I've learned about and actually experience that. So last week, we spoke about goals, and we had a lesson at the end of the session, which was, I don't know what anything is for. And I don't know if there's anyone actually here this week who was there last week, but I mean, Fernando, I can just ask you if you can, tell us a little bit more about what you may have gone through during that lesson. What
Yes.
did you
So
experience?
during last week's lesson, I think we did that for 3 minutes, maybe. I'm already feeling goosebumps already in my legs. Same thing I felt then. I don't know what this is for. It caused, I don't know why, but it caused some type of neurological release, disconnect of old stories that were not constructed in ways that are, say, premium seat level. So I felt like I'm dismantling stories of relationship I have to objects that are alive in the unconscious, subconscious. And it's such a simple thing. I don't know what this is for. I don't know what this is for. Right. And that's what I experienced. So I experienced this peace and vigor. And it's like, is this supposed to feel this good? So I felt mainly in my legs. And you have to do, if I had to put a mental aspect to it, was a newfound peace, because I felt like I was disappearing, deleting codes, like computer codes that were not built to run a software that say to be powerful or to run high levels of programs.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. And it's what you'll hear me say here often is that, the finite mind, or the separate self that most people identify themselves as, nothing wrong with that. It's not your fault. The finite self can't know what the experience of the premium seat really is. And that's why we're using these lessons and these analogies and things during the sessions to have you experience that, because it's like a recognition. You have to get it, and people do. They go, oh, I get it. So we can say, oh, well, I just heard this, so I'm going to go away and think about it. But you can't necessarily think yourself out of the mind. So here we practice patience and tolerance and listen together. And one day, not that there's a thing as choice, but one day you'll get it. And but yeah, there does seems to be, from what people say, these downloads, if you will, or these insights that come, and that's beautiful. And what you experienced, we could say, is like, yeah, that unlimited place before buildings were built, which is the analogy we used last week. Before any buildings were built, just this beautiful, open, empty space, which is what we are, the premium seat. So I'll quickly follow on from where we were last week in terms of goals. This also talks a little bit about decisions, because a lot of people who come to me say that when they have to make an important decision, they experience anxiety, or just general decisions. And here we come to, is there choice? And I think if you've been following me for a while, we would have done this, but it's very helpful. So here, let's go and Self-inquire about, is there a thing such as choice? And then we're going to relate it to later in terms of goals and expectations and decision making. And it might become clear to everyone. Or if you have any questions, we can do a Q&A later too. So, yeah. So the question is, I'm just going to use a question that I learned from a virtual teacher, Rupert Spera. The question's very simple. We're just going to use the example of, would you like coffee or tea? Now, what we do with the premium seat is how to truly live in the present moment. So we can try all now to see if we can experience two thoughts at the same time. Go into your own experience right now and see if you can have two thoughts at the same time. Fernando?
I think that's a I think no, I don't think so. I think you if I'm making a mash of two thoughts, then it's one thought of me mashing those two thoughts that I thought I was gonna have.
Right, that's correct. So everyone, no matter what sexual preference, gender, nationality, we all can only have one thought at a time. And so this leads on to the question. So would you like coffee or tea? And we're going to use the premium set to stay in this open, empty awareness. Would you like coffee or tea is a thought. It comes into the premium set and it disappears. And then there's a pause. And then thought number 2 appears, looking from the premium set, and thought number 2 may be coffee. That's the answer. And that thought disappears. Now, what is present between the two thoughts? Can you call it anything? What would you describe it? I'll just ask Fernando.
Yeah. And we also have Cheetah and Lorraine here that you can call on.
Right. You can also, shout out what you think
So
it is.
So what's present between the thoughts?
Yeah.
Nothing. Maybe
I'd like to.
Yeah.
Oh, no. In reference to thought, I'm inclined to say the potential. Thought.
Okay. The potential. Yeah. Okay. So the potential of thought, we can also call this restful place. You can call it the premium seat if you want to, because the premium seat is actually free from thought. Or we could call it, infinite awareness. This pause between two thoughts is where the background of awareness becomes present. Before there's any thought, before a house was built, there was just the space. So we can say what is present between two thoughts is this background of the premium seat, And so after thought number 2 comes the answer, coffee, and disappears. There may be a third thought. So watching from the premium set, watching the thoughts come and go. There may be a third thought, which is, I chose coffee. So the chooser is imagine with that thought. I chose that identity. And this identity we speak of during these sessions as the person in the middle row. So can you ever then make a wrong decision? What are decisions made of? There seems to be, we come to a place where there is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong.
Can you refresh the definition of the middle seat for folks that are watching or listening that did not catch the previous episodes.
Right. So the middle seat is the person that someone would usually identify themselves as, which is your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, your relationships and such, plus the fact of being aware. While you're sitting in the cinema, the screen in the cinema represents your life and the movie of your life, the external world. And the premium seat is referring to what we essentially are, which is just the awareness, minusing the content of experience, which is the person in the middle row. The content of experience refers to, our thoughts, sensations and feelings and such connected to what seems to be our body. So let's go again. We're looking from the premium seat. Thought number 1 appears, would you like tea or coffee? And disappears. During the time when the thought, would you like tea or coffee, appears, the decision has not been made. Right? And also during this time, the answer, thought number 2, is non-existent. So we're really training to be right now, super conscious and aware, just right now from the premium seat. Would you like tea or coffee? Comes and goes. The premium seat remains. There's a pause. The answer, thought number 2, coffee, appears and disappears. After thought number 2 appears and disappears, a pause is there, the background of awareness, what we truly are. Thought number 3 appears, I chose coffee, and disappears. Right? So the chooser is imagined. And maybe this is not experienced right now. Maybe, whatever you're experiencing is fine. So one thought at a time. If we can just take away from this, at least, to be more conscious and remain in the premium seat and take one thought at a time, because this will also help when being triggered, if you will, and being removed from that premium seat again. Just take it one thought at a time, slow down, become hyper aware and hyper conscious, and then we can move back to this beautiful empty space, unattached by the content of experience and drama of life. And by doing this, it can open up a beautiful world in all aspects of life, whether we're at work, whether we're being a mother or a father, when we're dealing with family, friends, socializing,
I'd like to interject.
Yeah.
Yeah, the claim here, which is also my experience, and it's been described by Rupert this way, I believe, is that decisions are made in the space between thoughts. And then, which I'm just repeating, but already, whether we think it's the case or not, this has already been occurring. The real pain then would be the thought that comes after the decision, which is full of ownership and personal doership, right? And like the clown taking credit for it, that image. Let's see, there was something else. Well, yeah, the best point is like this is already the case. So it's like there's nothing to be done for decisions to come spontaneously from that silent goodness. The good news is it's already happening like that. And then you get the phrase, actions speak louder than words. They really do. That's where they come from. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Chitta is, experienced in these teachings. So yeah, thank you for the jokes. It's just part of that joke again, when we could laugh and realize I've never made the I think I am, because